Hello everybody and welcome back. It's Michael from Hallowed Thrills, back with another video, and today we're doing a video that I took a poll over on my Instagram. Go follow me over there if you have not, as well as on my Twitter. Go follow me there if you haven't. But anyways, I took a poll over there and you were all very interested in me sharing the information that I know regarding the numerous facts and secrets that I have gathered over the past couple years of the Haunted Mansion over at the Walt Disney World Resort. Now, before we continue, make sure that you are subscribed and have the bell notification turned on to get notified whenever I post a video. And also, make sure that you check out my my TeePublic, as if you saw when you got this notification, if you do have that bell notification turned on, I have a new channel logo. Thank you. Big shout out to Sky Lombard, a poison donut over on Instagram and Twitter. Go check them out as well. They did an amazing job making my new logo for the channel, as well as for my personal social media accounts. They absolutely killed it. I love them for that. Thank you. Big shout out to them. But anyways, with that, new merchandise came up on my TeePublic, so go check that out. But with all that out of the way, now let's start our journey through the Haunted Mansion. Now, I will give a word of warning. There may be a few of these that you may already know, and so just a word of warning, if we do come across one that you already know, do not get upset. I'm just doing things that I know, that I found out, and just thinking that if you don't know them, you might be interested in figuring them out now. But anyways, we start our trip through the Haunted Mansion, starting in the queue, preferably the exterior queue, where next to Captain Culpepper Klein's bathtub, embedded in the ground, you can see the bride's wedding ring. Which part of the story goes is that it was thrown off of the mansion balcony following Constance murdering her last husband. But the more realistic explanation and actual reason behind the supposed ring is that it was an old stanchion that was used for extending the queue of the Haunted Mansion, that when it was removed and trimmed down and grinded down, it left what appeared and looked like to people as a wedding ring. Like I said, that's not actually what it is, but for the story and for giggles and everything, that is actually what people are calling it. Anyways, staying outside of the mansion, we look at the architecture of the mansion, which is particularly designed after the Harry Packer Mansion in Jim Thorpe, Pennsylvania, which I personally had the honor of visiting last summer. But that's enough of that. But anyways, but there are a few hidden Easter eggs in the architecture, as such as a few spires that are actually on the tops of the mansion, are supposed to resemble chess pieces, such as the king and the queen, as well as the rook. And then I believe there is not a knight, I believe, because it's always night at the Haunted Mansion, quote quote, funny. But anyways, that's a little bit of the story about the architecture. And then moving back to the exterior queue, if you move along, we start off and see the busts of different family members from the Haunted Mansion, and you may look at all of these busts. I think there's 5 of them, and you may think nothing of it. They're just busts that are there, but the story behind them is that on the pillars that are holding the bust, there is a little story that you can follow along. It's a little bit of a game where you can connect the dots and figure out who murdered who out of all the busts. It's a little just fun game if the line's moving slowly or there's a downtime in the ride, in the attraction. You can be able to do that and have a good old time with your family. But anyways, moving just right along, right next to the busts, there is actually a set of tombstones, which do give a little bit of a shout out to past Imagineers. Those two being Xavier Atencio and Mark Davis. One of them being Francis Xavier is one of the names on the tombstone, as well as Grandpa Mark, I believe is what it says. But like I said, those are referring to Mark Davis and Xavier Tencio. And the last little detail that is in the queue, out in the exterior queue, resides in the playable organ, which has the name Ravenscroft engraved on it, which is a nod to singer-songwriter Thurl Ravenscroft, who is the voice of the song Grim Grinning Ghosts. Moving on to the interior queue, which the only fact that I have about this part of the queue is that in the stretching room, the old lady that is sitting on the tombstone of, I believe his name is George, is actually an old Constance Hatchaway, the bride. Now, moving on from that is we start to board our Doom buggies and start our tour through the mansion. Now, following the portrait hallway, you enter the library, where in front of the bookcases, a little off to the left, is a chair. And there is a face on that chair that is, you may recognize it, and that is actually supposed to resemble everybody's favorite duck, Donald Duck. So that was a little nod to the Disney character that was put in the mansion. This actually appears, I believe, twice throughout the attraction in 2 separate chairs. Now, moving on, after you get past the library and you get past the shadow piano player, you move on to the endless staircase scene. This endless staircase scene is supposedly based off the thoughts and paintings of M.C. Escher, as well as drawing inspiration from the architecture of the Winchester House over in California. Although this room was not always like this before its debut in 2007, this room was actually just a very darkly lit room with a few cobwebs on either side of the track, with very large glowing spiders on each side, which, since that refurbishment, have been repurposed and reused and added to the temple scene in the Jungle Cruise at Walt Disney World. Moving on from there, you head towards the hallway of doors, but at first you spot a floating candelabra down an endless hallway, as well as a suit of armor, which the rumor has it is that there have been a few reports by former cast members stating that this is true, but that when the attraction initially opened, there was actually someone in that suit who would jump out and scare you. But that effect was later retired shortly after its debut due to many safety issues and guest complaints. Once in the hallway of doors, there are a number of paintings on the walls of some of the famous Haunted Mansion characters that are strung throughout the mansion, such as the Hatbox Ghost being one of them. Now, the Hatbox cannot be physically seen throughout the mansion, unlike the mansion that is over in Disneyland, where he actually is physically there. But this painting is the best that the Walt Disney World Mansion has. Next, after that, another portrait can be found, which is of the character. It shows a character with a noose around his neck, and this character is believed to be the ghost host, who is the disembodied voice that you hear throughout the attraction. Now, this is due to the fact that in the stretching room, the ghost host states a way out of the stretching room is to take his way out, which is then followed by a lightning flash and a glimpse of someone hanging in the ceiling, like hanging in the rafters above you. So it is assumed that this character with the noose around his neck and the axe in his hand is the ghost host. Next, when you enter the seance room, you notice a raven on the back of Madame Leota's chair. Now, this is actually one of 4 different ravens that appear throughout the attraction, and according to cast members, this raven is named very similarly to Lady Tremaine's cat Lucifer in the Cinderella movies. Now, I don't know if there's an exact correlation between the two, but that's just how I was told when I was talking to a cast member of the name, that they said the easiest way to remember it is Lady Tremaine's cat is also named Lucifer. Now, the other locations of the Raven all the way throughout the attraction is right before the hallway of doors, in, I think it's a little like a little observatory room that has the coffin in it. There's a Raven there. And then, like I said, the seance room, and then moving on, there is, right as you're coming out of the attic scene, it's perched up on a branch, is another one. And then finally, as you're heading into the crypt, there is another one. Now, moving on to the most well-known Easter egg throughout the entire mansion and the entire attraction is the 3 plates on the table in the dining room, which do form a hidden Mickey. Everyone knows that one, and most people, if you ask them, oh, I know about, like, oh, do you know about the hidden secret in the Haunted Mansion? They'll probably tell you that. Everyone knows that one. But the less known fact is about one of the animatronics. The animatronic that is blowing out the candles on the cake sitting at the table is actually the same facial design as the whistling man in the jail cell in Pirates of the Caribbean. So that's another cool little secret and fact that I know of. And another fact is all of the ghosts that become visual in the ballroom scene are done using the Pepper's Ghost effect, which is an effect where in a separate room, I believe it's lower, in a separate room out of view from guests, all of the animatronics are set up in their correct positions, and then are in a pitch black room. But as a light gets shined on them, it reflects on a mirror, thus showing the effect of them materializing in front of your very eyes. Now moving on to the attic, you see many portraits of Constance and her past husbands, which she murdered, but in the backing track that is playing throughout the attic scene, you can hear a beating heart, which is a nod to one of the original brides that was in the attraction, which was coined the name the Heartbeat Bride. Now, as you exit the attic, you head towards the graveyard. Your doom buggy will slowly start to turn backwards as you make your descent. Now, the reason for this is how it relates to the story of the Haunted Mansion. Now, the story goes that you are actually jumping out of the attic window and falling to your death. That is why you are falling backwards out of the attic window and ending up in the graveyard, pretty much. So you end up dying and going to the graveyard. Now, in the graveyard, you are seeing a whole bunch of different happy haunts that are part of the Haunted Mansion, and a few of those being the singing busts. And it is a common misconception about one in particular singing bust is that it is meant to resemble Walt Disney. That is not actually true, as the one that people continue to reference as Walt Disney is once again Thurl Ravenscroft, which I mentioned earlier is the singer-songwriter who is the main voice of Grinning Ghosts. Okay, so the last home stretch of your tour through the Haunted Mansion leads you to the crypt, which is where you meet the hitchhiking ghosts who, from left to right, are named as such, left being Phineas, middle being Ezra, and all the way to the right being Gus. My favorite of the 3 being Ezra, just because he looks the coolest out of all of them, to be completely honest. Now, following your meeting with the hitchhiking ghosts, you move on towards the unloading platform, where you see Little Leota, which is the name coined to her by the community. And unlike Madame Leota, who is in the crystal ball in the seance room, Little Leota is actually facial mapped and voiced by the same person, who is ex-Imagineer Leota Toombs. Now, Leota Toombs actually only does the facial mapping for Madame Leota, and the voice parts for Madame Leota, who is in the crystal ball, are actually done by actor Eleanor Audley, who is most well known for voicing Lady Tremaine in Cinderella. Now, as you exit the attraction, there is a handicap / child swap hallway, which pre-pandemic, you could wait for a cast member there and ask for a honorary caretaker card, which I I have one. Adrian, I found, was able to get him one. I've been able to get a whole bunch of people these because this is probably the coolest thing that you could do in the attraction that not a lot of people knew you could do, but it's just a free little gift you could get for just visiting the mansion. It was really cool. But finally, as you head towards the exit, you do see the pet cemetery on your left, which the most notable resident of the pet cemetery is Mr. Toad, who was laid to rest after his ride was replaced by Winnie the Pooh. And there you have it, everybody. That is every little detail that and fact that I know about the Haunted Mansion. And thank you for sticking around with through with this with me. If you did, I know it was a very long video, kind of kept going on a little bit, but thank you if you enjoyed all the facts that I was able to give you. And if you did enjoy those facts and would like to for me to give you more of a backstory about the actual story of the Haunted Mansion, as well as the detail and design process behind the original mansion, then just drop down in the comments, tell me that you want to see that, or, you know, just drop me a like and I'll be more than happy to be able to do this for you, because Haunted Mansion, it's my favorite attraction. Absolutely could talk about the Haunted Mansion for days. But as always, I've been Michael. This has been Hallowed Thrills. I'll see you guys next time.